So the Election Commission of India has finally sounded the poll bugle. It's going to be a mammoth exercise extending over 2 months. More than 96 crore electors across the country, more than 10.5 lakh polling booths being manned by poll personnel. The elections to the India are going to be held starting from the 19th of April, when the first phase of polling will be held, and will be extended in 7 phases across the country. To discuss the various aspects of the elections to elect the 18th Lok Sabha, we have with me my colleague Shamin Joy, who covers the opposition parties here in Delhi in the National Bureau of Deccan Herald, and Amrita Madhukalia, who covers the government and the ruling party, the BJP. Shamin, to begin with you, you were there in the press conference today. The Chief Election Commissioner, Rajiv Kumar, he spoke for an hour and a half, and he took a whole range of issues in the press conference, some very controversial issues on which people were expecting him to answer. But one question which came up repeatedly was about the hate speech, being raised by a few reporters, saying there should be a level playing field, and the election commissioner was very clear and categorical that they're going to take action this time, and he almost read out the riot act. Now, do you think that in the past the allegation against the commission has always been that there have been notices issued but not much action taken? What is your understanding, considering he was very very clear and categorical as far as the election commission response is concerned?
So it was interesting to hear Mr. Rajiv Kumar speaking about how the commission is going to enforce the model code of conduct, and how the commission is going to control hate speech and other related issues. There was an interesting comment made by Rajiv Kumar. He said the election commission has been acting like a moral censor till now. Now it is going to take a step further, and it will be enforced. Like taking action against him. So he basically spoke about providing the earlier instructions given to the parties, earlier actions taken, the notices issued as a compendium. And he has specifically urged the parties to ensure that the star campaigners don't cross the line. And at the same time, he also issued a stern warning to repeated offenders. That was interesting. But it all depends on how the commission will be acting against that kind of a situation when it arises, because there were several questions raised by reporters asking about how the election commission allegedly didn't act on the complaints against Prime Minister or the Home Minister Amit Shah, and while trying to compare the actions taken against the opposition leader, one of the opposition leaders, Rahul Gandhi. So it is up to, we have to wait and watch how election commission will be acting on this. Will they walk the talk? That will be what we will be watching over the next 2 months.
Amrita, one of the concerns has been the elections in the northeast, especially Manipur. Now, Manipur is one state where even in one parliamentary constituency, there are going to be elections in 2 different phases. Then they also spoke about having the facility for the refugees to vote from the camps. So that is one aspect which is going to be very clearly monitored, along with the polls in the Jammu and Kashmir.
Yes. I think this is the first time, especially in the Northeast, given its history of insurgencies and conflicts over the last few years, we've never had an election where for one seat, now Manipur, we must understand, has only 2 seats, and in one of them they're going to have the elections for over 2 days over 2 times. Now at the same time we will also have elections in Sikkim and Arunachal Pradesh. So this the party in power, the BJP, has been sidestepping the question about how the security situation in Manipur has been panning out, with the opposition parties demanding over the months that the Prime Minister should at least visit Manipur and see how the situation is like. Now with the EC sort of telling us that the situation is so bad that the first time we're going to have polling stations from these refugee camps, I think one way to look at it is that this is going to help the opposition bring up the security issue in a big way, but also it sort of gives us an idea about it also leads us to the question of how the elections are going to pan out electorally there, because Now the votes are going to be divided in a big way. We had Pose, who was a Naga person, who was from the NPF, who was the outer Manipur MP for the longest time. He also was attacked at some point. We've had like senior ministers in the Modi cabinet being in the Viren Singh cabinet being attacked while the conflict was panning out. So I think in a way it's going to be interesting to look at which community now comes forward in the outer Manipur seat, and I mean the electoral cloud will be interesting to watch at this point.
The other two questions, which people were expecting the CEC to answer was the recent resignation of one of the election commissioners. And to which I think he indicated it was a personal issue when he said that, and at the same point in time, the election commissioner indicated that there is a tremendous scope for dissent as far as the operation of the election commission is concerned. But what was the interpretation if one were to look at the answer the CEC gave to that query?
The chief election commissioner, played like a seasoned politician, I would say. While answering that, he was very guarded. He said he was very, he knew that such a question will come up. So I think he was prepared with that. Whichever way you frame that question, he would have said the same thing. The first point he said was that Mr. Arun Goyal might have, he indicated that it is for personal reasons that Arun Goyal has resigned, and one should not prod him much. Yeah. The second portion is more significant, I think, and in a way, without saying it, he has confirmed that okay, there were dissent, there were disagreement. More than dissent, it was disagreements. The disagreement happened within the commission, and at the same time, he is saying that okay, dissent always dissent is there, and more than one brain is always better in conducting an election in such a big country. So the takeaway to me personally, I would say that okay, in a very nice or very 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 interesting way, Rajiv Kumar has acknowledged the differences, and handled the situation.
Yeah, the other interesting thing about these the elections is that the chief election commissioner when he spoke about Jammu and Kashmir also, now very clearly he said that the political parties were insisting that they want elections early, but at the same point in time there are security issues. So the conducting the elections just after the current round of, he gave a very long answer to that. But the other aspect which I found interesting in that entire effort was that in the by-elections they've also listed 7 seats in Himachal Pradesh, and the matter is being, the MLAs who had cross-voted are approaching the High Court. So that's also going to have a larger political ramifications in the coming months. If the elections are held together with the Lok Sabha elections, then BJP generally tends to have an advantage, in a situation like that.
Usually it does, but this also, I think, if you look at Himachal's situation in the last few months, I think there's a bit of, one understands that there's a bit of a hesitancy, or there's a bit of I wouldn't know, I wouldn't say the right word is hesitancy, but a bit of a block from the Congress party in terms of dealing with the internal crisis there. True. So, and in if 6 MLAs, rebel MLAs were disqualified, and then there was some sort of a conversation happening with Vikramaditya, but that also didn't come through. Now I think now one can safely say, with the elections being held in these 6 or 7 constituencies, is that the government really is going to be in trouble. In case they don't get the numbers, then the Congress might be staring at a difficult situation in the state. BJP definitely is going to be using everything that it has.
One last question, Shamin, although there were multiple things to discuss on this, that multiple phase elections extending over 2 months, starting from mid-April, early April, the counting is going to happen on the 4th of June. Congress party has already reacted, Rahul Gandhi and Sharad Pawar, especially questioning 5-phase poll in Maharashtra, state like Maharashtra. And this question was also put to the election commissioner, that this tends to, the allegation from the opposition is that the extended elections over a period of time tend to suit BJP. And he did respond to that query.
Yeah, if you have, I did a little bit of research on this thing. In the first general elections, the elections were spanned over 5 months. Yes. After that, this is the first time we are having such a large, I mean, like the election is spread for 44 days, I mean, from April 19 to June 1. And if you take the model code of conduct into this thing, there are 77 days, I mean, like the model code of conduct will be in place for 77 days. This is one of the largest, I mean, like period where elections are held. And because even in the last election, 2019 elections, it was 39 days. Before that, in 2014, it was 36 days. So this kind of, the question will arise, why can't the election commission curtail the number of days in which they can conduct the elections? But I don't think that election commission has convincingly answered that question. Why this, I mean, of course, he spoke about the security situation. I mean, like the length and breadth of the country.
For instance, I mean, there is a cogent answer to that. You have 5 Lok Sabha seats in Jammu and Kashmir, and because of security reasons, you have 1 seat going to polls every.
Exactly. Even as you mentioned, Jammu and Kashmir, questions were also raised about why the assembly elections are not held simultaneously with the Lok Sabha elections. Because in Jammu and Kashmir is not having an assembly since 2018, even before the abrogation of Article 370. So he said that, he in a way blamed the government for that, because he says that there were inconsistencies between the Reorganization Act as well as the later delimitation report, and the reconciliation happened only in December, last December, 3 months ago. So from then on they were running to conduct the elections, and he has said that soon after the conclusion of Lok Sabha elections they will start working on the Jammu and Kashmir elections. But we also have to note that the Supreme Court has earlier set a sort of a deadline by September you have to conduct the elections. So I expect maybe in August, September we may have Jammu and Kashmir elections also.
Thank you, Shamin. Thank you, Amrita. And that's all we have in today's edition of our political discussion. Over the next 2.5 months, we'll keep you updated with the latest news stories, analysis, color, campaigns from across the country. Log on to our website www.deccanherald.com for the latest on various developments across the country.